How often do we sometimes regret that we rushed to express our opinion, said something inappropriately, and got into an awkward situation? A word is silver, but silence is gold. Sometimes silence in response to a challenge is not the same as weakness, it is a sign of a strong personality. Today we are going to learn the 7 main benefits of silence. With these rules, each of us can fill our lives with success, happiness, create healthy relationships and live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. Actions speak louder than words. Silence is not for the weak, it is for the wise, for those who realize that power is not in noise, but in control. This quote tells us that silence is more effective than hastily spoken words. They lead to wisdom, strength, mastery. We learn to observe and make informed decisions, and then our actions lead to success. So, what is the value of silence to us? Let's immerse ourselves in its power and find peace and happiness together with our video. Don't forget to put likes if the video taught you something new, and subscribe if you haven't done it yet. On our channel we reveal the secrets of a happy and successful life. Silence is a skill. To comprehend valuable experience of knowledge and skills, to reach the highest competence of our work we are helped by silence. According to the ancient philosopher Stoics, silence has a powerful energy, and only in the tranquility of contemplation wisdom blossoms. Seneca, one of the brightest representatives of the Stoics, said, "Silence is the fence around wisdom." These words only confirm that silence allows us to absorb the smallest details of the world, to learn what we may not notice in conversation. In silence it is easier to learn the lessons of the sages of the past. Silence helps us to see the main things in the flow of information. Details are incredibly important in mastery, and it is impossible to notice them on the run, in a hurry to find really valuable lessons in the flow of information. By losing the skill of calm observation, we doom ourselves to inevitable mistakes and missed opportunities. Vanity prevents us from making the right conclusions and making the right decisions, and without them it is impossible to achieve the highest degree of mastery. We must learn to accept silence, to appreciate silence, and then we will be able to enrich ourselves with vast experience, acquire the necessary skills and sharpen them in practice. The more attention we pay to small things, the more thoroughly we will work out all the details of what we are doing at the moment. And focus is only possible in silence and silent contemplation. Important information will not escape us if we perceive it thoughtfully and quietly. By mastering the art of silence, we can more clearly visualize the world around us, we can more easily understand cause and effect relationships, form skills that allow us to elevate our skills to the extreme limits. Silence is tranquility. Only in silence can we learn the art of self-control, only silence allows us to control our emotions. Silence is a kind of tool to achieve a balance between emotional perception of what is happening and reasonable conclusions that allow us to assess the situation adequately. How many times have we regretted that we hastily said hurtful words to our interlocutor? How often in the heat of a heated argument we have tried to prove our rightness on emotion, and ended up being wrong. If we knew how to observe the rule of silence, to shut up in time, we would probably get into much less trouble. Silence teaches us to react to a situation not under the influence of immediate emotions, but reasonably and balanced. Not without reason they say, if you are annoyed, count to 10, and only then say or do. This 10-second pause allows you to take control of emotional reactions, gain self-control and do not make mistakes in the heat of anger or resentment. Silence helps us avoid impulsive behavior, which is often not the best solution to a problem. While we are silent, our minds are engaged and we have time to evaluate our emotional reactions and act in a way that is best for us. Silence is our safety, a kind of filter for emotions and words, actions and reactions. During the pause, we learn to think about the words we should use to respond to the situation, to take actions that will not harm us and those with whom we are arguing. Silence is by no means a manifestation of weakness of character. It is a sign that you are able to remain calm in difficult circumstances. Your emotions are always under the control of reason and will not bring you trouble. Silence is energy. Silence helps us to preserve the vitality that we lack in the fast-paced modern world. Silence is a guardian of calmness, a fortress that protects us from wasting energy on a lot of trivial worries. Let's imagine that our phone's battery is running low, and there is no possibility to recharge it in the near future. We urgently switch on the energy-saving mode, limiting the use of the phone only to calls and important messages. The same happens with silence. It is like a recharge for our vital forces. The more we waste ourselves on conversations and idle chatter, the less energy we have, and therefore by evening we feel like a squeezed lemon. Again, let us turn to the wisdom of the Stoics. Seneca repeatedly mentioned how important it is for a person to conserve energy. He once remarked, "Life is long if you know how to use it." These words encourage us to use our forces carefully, wisely managing the time allotted to us, not wasting valuable resource given to man by the higher powers. And for this we need silence. Minutes of silence add up to hours of productive work. Silence in response to gossip and idle talk helps not to be distracted from what is important, from what is really valuable in our lives. Silence is our secret weapon, with a powerful charge of energy. The more often we are silent, the faster our battery turns on, recharging us, and we have more energy for important accomplishments than if we spent time on useless reasoning. Silence is wisdom. Has anyone ever heard of a great inventor making his discovery at a noisy party or surrounded by a lot of people? Hardly, since wise decisions love silence. The more we keep quiet and think, the brighter and more incredible our perspectives become. We find it easier to solve complex problems in silence because our brains need to focus on the important details. We are more likely to make the right decisions when we are in silence, because it allows us to soberly evaluate all the pros and cons, without being influenced by emotions. If we imagine our life journey as a journey on a ship to distant lands, then silence will be our map, with the help of which we will navigate in the raging ocean of life. The more often we turn to silence, the wiser our decisions will be, as it turns on reason and does not allow emotions to dominate us. In silence, we make wise decisions, and important waypoints appear on the map of our lives that we will not miss. In the vast labyrinth of possibilities, you can't hurry, otherwise you will definitely take a wrong turn. Silence is a pause necessary for thinking about the way forward, analyzing mistakes and looking for opportunities to correct them. Only in silence wise thoughts, great discoveries and precise decisions are born. If we are constantly in conversations, we can miss the precious time, which has been allotted to us by the higher powers for acquiring really valuable life experience. Therefore, silence equals wisdom. Without silence it is impossible to come to the conclusions that will help us make the right choices in life. Silence is power. Silence helps to gain power. First of all, over yourself. But also over other people. It is not without reason that great orators so valued minute pauses, during which the attention of the audience increased in times. This small power over the listeners allowed them to convey their thoughts much more clearly, understandably, and productively. Silence is a demonstration of our power, a sign of leadership. When we want to be heard, it is better to be silent. Seneca argued that power requires wisdom and restraint. The more words we speak, the more often those around us lose the essence of what is being said in endless verbosity. A wise leader will weigh every word so that every thought is heard and understood by the audience. That is why his authority is unquestionable, and his power is almost limitless. Silence, a pause in conversation, makes us significant to others. Through silence we gain power over listeners, because we do not allow inaccuracies in speech, a lot of words, parasites, empty, meaningless phrases. Each word is perceived as the truth in the last instance, because we know how to pause, giving to think about what was said. Silence gives power not only to speakers. It helps in everyday life. Communication with people, built not a continuous flow of information, but with the presence of meaningful pauses, allows us to think about the next important thought, and our interlocutors, to understand what we wanted to convey to them. Silence is the power of harmony over vanity, calm over impulsive words and actions. It helps to avoid conflicts, to build a conversation in a constructive way, to make interaction with others productive and meaningful. And thus, to gain authority among people. Silence is peace. Silence helps us avoid conflict situations. The more often we use pauses in conversation, the more time we have to think about the next step, to make a decision that helps to diffuse the situation and avoid conflict between interlocutors. In silence we can avoid the emotional traps that tend to overpower us. Silence is like a shield protecting us from unnecessary quarrels. We take a pause in the conversation to find the right words, arguments to prove our point. If we silently consider what others have said, it is easier for us to understand who is right and who holds a wrong opinion. And if that opinion was ours, it is easier for us to admit it after a pause. In this way we avoid conflicts, maintain good relations, and do not make enemies. Turning to the wisdom of the Stoic philosophers, we recall the words of one of them, Epictetus, "Choose your battles wisely." This is a reflection on the fact that it is not external events that make our verbal battles battles, but our understanding and interpretation of these events. There are many ways to approach any situation, but the choice of the wise is silence, the silence during which emotions are calmed, thoughts are organized, and thus the conflict that is brewing is ended. In moments of silence it is easier for us to understand the opponent, to hear and realize his opinion, to find possible points of contact. That is why it is better to be silent and think once than to say 100 words. Such a silent strategy will help to avoid many conflicts in our lives. Silence is respect. The more often we pause in conversation, the more we are silent, the more likely it is that we deserve respect from others. Why does silence become a tool for gaining respect? A famous saying goes, "Our actions speak louder than words." Yes, the best proof of the wisdom of our beliefs will be deeds, not a lot of words describing actions. The Stoics of antiquity repeatedly mentioned that respect can only be gained through deeds, saying, "Lead by example." The more words we utter, the sooner listeners will lose the essence of what we say, so it is better to keep silent and do, and then people will have the opportunity to see that your few words coincide with actions, and this, without a doubt, deserves respect from their side. The more confident your words are, the more terse your speech, the more convincing you are to others. Silence helps to gain respect, to appreciate your every word, confirmed by your deeds. Silence is a powerful weapon, and it was used by our ancestors. They spoke short, clear, and to the point. All we have to do is to follow their precepts. Friends, if a video has resonated with you, let us know about it. After all, it is you who help us to make this channel a pillar of calmness and wisdom. Happiness and harmony to you and your loved ones.